Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a handful of spare change, and tossing a completely ordinary-looking quarter onto your desk. You wouldn't think twice about it. To you, it is just 25 cents, barely enough to buy anything at all. But what if that exact coin in your hand was hiding a massive secret? What if a simple mistake made over 60 years ago turned that pocket change into a treasure worth thousands of dollars? Every year, millions of people look at their money without truly seeing it. But collectors and treasure hunters know that the ordinary can sometimes be extraordinary. There is one specific coin that drove the collecting world into a frenzy, a coin born from a massive national crisis and a hidden error that the United States Mint desperately tried to prevent. This is the story of a 1965 Washington quarter, but not just any 1965 quarter. This is the story of the error that shouldn't exist, and the hunt that continues to this very day. To understand why this coin is so special, we have to travel back to the mid-1960s. The United States was facing a severe dilemma. 4 generations, American dimes, quarters, and half dollars were made of 90% silver. But by 1964, a massive shortage of silver was gripping the nation. The price of silver was rising rapidly, to the point where the bullion value of the coins was starting to exceed their face value. People realized this and began hoarding coins by the millions, melting them down for a profit or keeping them stashed away in jars and banks. The economy was running out of circulating cash, and the government had to act fast. In response, President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Coinage Act of 1965. This monumental law changed American currency forever. It eliminated silver from the dime and the quarter, replacing it with a new, cheaper composition, a clad sandwich of copper and nickel. The transition was chaotic. The mint was under immense pressure to strike hundreds of millions of the new clad coins to replace the disappearing silver ones. To prevent even more hoarding, the government decided to freeze the 1964 date on silver coins, continuing to mint them well into 1965. This meant that inside the coin presses of Philadelphia and Denver, 2 completely different types of metal blanks were being processed at the exact same time: the old 90% silver blanks and the brand new copper-nickel clad blanks. With millions of coins flying through the machinery in a high-stress environment, the unthinkable happened. A few leftover silver blanks from the previous era accidentally slipped into the bins meant for the new 1965 clad quarters. The heavy steel dies came crashing down, striking the 1965 date onto a silver coin. The mint didn't realize the mistake until it was too late. These transitional error coins were bagged, shipped, and released directly into public circulation. They slipped into the pockets of everyday Americans, completely undetected. Now, you might be wondering, how can you spot one? If you look at a normal 1965 quarter from the side, you will easily see a distinct copper stripe running along the edge. That is the signature of the modern clad coin. But if you hold a rare silver error quarter, the edge will be solid, brilliant silver. The ultimate test, however, comes down to science and the exact laws of physics. A standard copper-nickel 1965 quarter weighs exactly 5.67 grams. But because silver is a denser, heavier metal, a silver 1965 quarter weighs exactly 6.25 grams. That tiny difference of less than a gram is the dividing line between 25 cents and a life-changing fortune. Over the years, only a small handful of these genuine 1965 silver quarters have ever been discovered. Because they're so incredibly rare, their value has skyrocketed. When one of these elusive errors finally surfaces at a major auction, collectors go to war. Well-preserved examples have sold for $7,000, $9,000, and even upwards of $16,000. Think about the journey of a coin like that. It survived in canvas bags, passed through the hands of unsuspecting bank tellers, sat in cash registers, and maybe even spent decades sitting at the bottom of an old coffee can in someone's attic. How many people held that fortune in their hands, looked at the 1965 date, and spent on a newspaper or a pack of gum, completely oblivious to what they actually held? The mystery that keeps treasure hunters awake at night is simple. How many more are still out there? Statistically, given the volume of coins produced during the chaotic transition of 1965, it is highly likely that more of these silver heirs were minted than the few that have been found. They are waiting in jars, under couch cushions, or buried in old coin collections, disguised as ordinary pocket change. The 1965 silver quarter is a modern relic of American history. It represents a turning point where the nation moved away from precious metals and into the modern era of currency. It is a tangible piece of a chaotic time, a mistake frozen in silver. So, the next time you find yourself with some spare change, don't just throw it into a jar and forget about it. Take a second look. Check the edges. Put on a scale. You might just be holding a piece of history that could change your life. Have you ever checked your older quarters for this error? Or do you know someone who hoards old coins? What would you do if you found one today? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden treasures of history. Imagine holding a tiny piece of metal in the palm of your hand that looks exactly like every other ordinary coin in your pocket, yet it holds a secret worth thousands of dollars. Most people would look at it, shrug, and spin out a pack of gum. But for a select few eagle-eyed treasure hunters, this specific coin represents the ultimate jackpot, hiding in plain sight. We're talking about a legendary anomaly from American numismatic history, the 1966 Washington quarter that was never supposed to exist in the way it does today. To understand why this seemingly mundane quarter is driving collectors into a frenzy, we have to travel back to the mid-1960s, a period of massive chaos and transformation for the United States Mint. For over 3 decades, Americans had grown accustomed to the satisfying weight and high silver content of their quarters. Every Washington quarter minted from 1932 up until 1964 was composed of 90% pure silver. But by 1965, the U.S. government faced a massive crisis. The price of silver was skyrocketing, and citizens began hoarding silver coins by the millions, pulling them out of circulation faster than the mint could produce them. In a desperate bid to save the economy from a coin shortage disaster, President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Coinage Act of 1965. With a stroke of a pen, silver was officially stripped from the quarter. The mint transitioned to a new clad composition, a core of pure copper sandwiched between layers of a copper-nickel alloy. This transition was frantic, rushed, and filled with logistical nightmares. Now, think about what happens when a massive manufacturing operation undergoes a sudden, radical shift overnight. Millions of coins are being struck at breakneck speeds. Workers are exhausted, and different metals are moving through the same facilities. This environment is the perfect breeding ground for mistakes. And in 1966, one of the most fascinating mistakes in minting history occurred. Enter the mysterious 1966 Washington quarter struck on a leftover silver planchet. A planchet is simply the blank metal disc before it gets stamped with the coin's design. During the chaotic transition, a few stray 90% silver blanks from 1964 or earlier managed to survive. They hid in the corners of giant canvas mint bags, or perhaps got wedged in the crevices of the heavy machinery at the San Francisco or Philadelphia facilities. Eventually, the machinery vibrated, the rogue silver blank dropped into the feeding hopper, and it was struck with the brand new 1966 dies. When it fell into the collection bin, it looked almost identical to the millions of clad coins surrounding it. To the untrained eye, it was just another 25-cent piece. But it wasn't. It was a silver ghost, a phantom coin bridging 2 entirely different eras of American money. How many of these transitional errors actually slipped through the cracks? The truth is, nobody knows the exact number. The mint certainly didn't keep a record of its accidents. Some experts believe only a handful exist, making them exceptionally rare. What makes the hunt for the 1966 transitional silver quarter so intoxicating is the sheer thrill of the chase. Unlike an ancient Roman coin or a Spanish doubloon buried deep at the bottom of the ocean, this treasure wasn't lost at sea. It was released into regular, everyday circulation. It passed through cash registers, vending machines, laundromats, and piggy banks. It might have been sitting in your grandfather's jar of loose change for 50 years, completely unnoticed. So, how do you actually spot one? How do you know if you're holding a regular 1966 quarter or a hidden fortune? The secret lies in the physics of the coin. Because silver is denser than copper and nickel, a genuine silver transitional error is noticeably heavier than a normal clad quarter. If you place a standard 1966 clad quarter on a precise digital scale, it will weigh exactly 5.67 grams. But if you happen to find one of the rare transitional silver errors, the scale will tip to approximately 6.25 grams. It is a tiny fraction of a difference, but to a collector, that half-gram variance is the difference between a $quarter and a payday worth thousands. Another giveaway is the edge of the coin. If you look at the reeded edge of a standard pocket quarter, you will clearly see a distinct copper stripe running through the middle. A silver quarter, however, will show a solid, brilliant silver edge with no copper sandwich visible. The market value for these rare 1966 errors has reached astonishing heights. When they do surface at major auction houses, certified by professional grading services, they command intense bidding wars. Some pristine examples have fetched thousands of dollars, driven by the sheer obsession of collectors who want to own a piece of the mint's wildest historical transition. Every time someone sifts through an old box of coins or checks the return slot of a vending machine, they are participating in a modern-day treasure hunt. It makes you wonder, how many people have unknowingly held this exact fortune in their hands, only to spend it on something trivial? How many of these silver phantoms are still out there, buried in the cushions of old couches or locked away in forgotten safes, waiting for someone to finally notice their true weight? The next time you come across a worn, scratched 1966 Washington quarter, don't just toss it aside. Take a closer look at its edge. Feel its weight. You might just be holding a legendary mistake that survived the chaos of a changing nation, a pocket change lottery ticket waiting to be claimed. Do you think you have ever spent a rare coin without realizing it? Check your change jars tonight, and let me know in the comments if you've ever found a hidden treasure in your pocket. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more incredible stories behind the world's rarest treasures. Imagine holding a piece of heavy, cold metal in your palm. It looks completely identical to the pocket change jingling in your jacket right now. You'd probably spend it on a coffee without a second thought. But what if that single, unsuspecting 25-cent coin was actually a hidden key to an era's end, carrying a secret worth thousands of dollars? Every day, hundreds of millions of everyday coins change hands, passing through cash registers, vending machines, and car cup holders. Most of them are worth exactly their face value. But hidden among the masses is a ghost, a final survivor of a bygone era. Today, we are diving deep into the gripping story of the 1998 Washington quarter dollar, a seemingly ordinary piece of United States history that has triggered an intense treasure hunt among modern coin collectors. To understand why this specific coin is driving the collecting community into a frenzy, we have to travel back to the late 1990s. The year is 1998. The digital age is exploding, the turn of the millennium is looming, and inside the heavily guarded walls of the Denver Mint, heavy industrial presses are stamping out hundreds of millions of clad quarter dollars. Little did the workers know, they were witnessing the end of an empire. For 66 consecutive years, the United States quarter looked exactly like this. It featured the stately obverse profile of George Washington, meticulously sculpted by artist John Flanagan to honor the first president's 200th birthday back in 1932. On the reverse side, it bore the iconic, fierce heraldic eagle, wings spread wide, gripping a bundle of arrows and an olive branch. This design survived the Great Depression, World War II, the Cold War, and the transition from silver to copper-nickel-clad composition in 1965. But 1998 was the absolute final year of this legendary design. The following year, 1999, would launch the explosive 50-state quarters program, completely reshaping American currency forever. The heraldic eagle was retiring. This meant the 1998 Denver Mint quarter was the final stand of the classic Washington series. Now, if you look at the raw data, The Denver Mint struck over 821 million of these quarters in 1998. With nearly a billion copies entering circulation, you might ask yourself, how could a coin minted by the hundreds of millions possibly be rare? How could it ever be a treasure? The answer lies in a brutal reality of the coin world, the devastating toll of time, friction, and human hands. Almost every single one of those 821 million quarters was dropped into canvas bags, tossed into armored trucks, slammed into metal cash drawers, and scraped against keys. They were scratched, dented, and worn down until their original luster completely vanished. Over more than a quarter of a century, pristine examples practically evaporated from the face of the earth. Because of this, a massive, silent hunt has emerged for the ultimate survivors. When a coin collector talks about a 1998 D quarter, they aren't looking for the scratch coin at the bottom of your couch. They are hunting for the flawless anomalies, the coins that somehow escape the carnage of circulation. Numismatists grade coins on a strict scale up to 70. A standard pocket change quarter might score a measly 12 or 20. But if you can find a 1998 D quarter that looks like it was minted 5 seconds ago, boasting an immaculate, satiny sheen with absolutely zero microscopic blemishes, you are looking at an explosive jump in value. While a typical circulated version is worth exactly 25 cents, a certified, museum-quality, mint state 67 specimen can command hundreds of dollars at auction. But the story gets even more dramatic. A select few absolute miracles of preservation have emerged over the years. One legendary 1998 D Washington quarter managed to defy all odds, achieving an astronomically rare grade of mint state 67+. When that flawless coin crossed the auction block at Heritage Auctions, collectors went to war, pushing the final price to over $1,500. Think about that for a second. An ordinary piece of copper and nickel, meant to buy a newspaper or a soda, transforming into $1,000 treasure simply because it survived a quarter of a century without a single scratch. And yet, condition isn't the only mystery keeping collectors awake at night. The real chaos begins when the machines make mistakes. During the high-speed chaos of the minting process in 1998, things went wrong. Collectors have documented fascinating mint errors that slip past quality control. From dramatic die cracks and off-center strikes to bizarre, "In God We Trust," lettering doublings. These factory errors turn a common coin into a one-of-a-kind historical artifact. There are even viral rumors of unverified, hyper-rare error variations floating around the internet, claiming values that stretch into tens of thousands of dollars, pushing amateur treasure hunters to tear through their piggy banks. Every time you look down at your change, you're looking at a lottery ticket of history. The classic eagle reverse of a 1998 D quarter represents the closing chapter of a 20th century monetary masterpiece. It is a stark reminder that rarity isn't just about how many items were made. It's about how many managed to survive. So, the next time you receive a handful of change at a drive-through window or find a forgotten coin tucked away in an old jar, don't just sweep it aside. Turn it over. Look closely for that small D mint mark beneath Washington's ribbon. Check the date. Inspect the surfaces. Could you be holding a pristine, untouched survivor of 1998? Is there a hidden mint error hiding in plain sight, right under your nose? The ultimate treasure might just be waiting in your pocket right now. What's the most valuable coin you have ever discovered in your everyday change? Let us know in the comments below. Smash that like button if you love the thrill of the hunt. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden fortunes of history. Until next time, keep your eyes sharp and happy hunting. Imagine holding an ordinary piece of change in your hand, something you might casually toss into a vending machine or leave behind in a cup holder, only to realize that single coin could rewrite your financial future. Every day, millions of people look right past them, but a select few, armed with a sharp eye and a bit of luck, know that tucked inside our modern pocket change lies a hidden world of accidental treasures. And one of the most astonishing modern mysteries in the entire numismatic world centers around an ordinary-looking piece of American currency from 2015. A Philadelphia minted Washington quarter that should be worth exactly 25 cents, but instead triggered a frantic nationwide treasure hunt. How does a coin minted just over a decade ago become a holy grail for collectors? The answer lies in a split-second mistake at the United States Mint, a blunder that transformed a common quarter into a legendary phantom. To understand how this happened, we have to look at the coin itself. In 2015, the United States Mint was deep into its America, the Beautiful Quarters program, a celebrated initiative honoring national parks and historic sites across the country. The Philadelphia Mint, designated by that small, unassuming letter P stamped next to George Washington's portrait, was churning out hundreds of millions of quarters. These coins were designed to celebrate the vast, rugged beauty of America's wilderness. But human beings operate the heavy machinery at the mint, and where there are humans, there are errors. Most mint errors are caught instantly by rigorous quality control checks or high-speed scanners. Strips of metal are fed into massive presses, struck with tremendous force, and inspected. But occasionally, a coin defies the odds. A piece slips through the cracks, tumbles into a canvas ballistic bag, and hitches a ride out into the public modern banking system. The 2015 P Washington Quarter Series includes several breathtaking designs, from the lush forests of North Carolina's Blue Ridge Parkway to the historic landscapes of Saratoga. Millions of people collected them, admiring the crisp details of the artwork. But behind the scenes, whispers began to circulate in the coin collecting community. Rumors spread of an anomaly, a coin that shouldn't exist. Collectors began reporting a massive, undeniable error on a select few 2015 P quarters. We aren't talking about a tiny scratch or a microscopic double die that requires a magnifying glass to see. We are talking about spectacular, jaw-dropping mint errors like quarters struck on the wrong metal blanks or coins struck multiple times off-center, creating a distorted, surreal piece of metallic art. Think about the sheer probability of this. A coin blank, intended for an entirely different denomination, somehow wanders into the quarter pressing line. It is hammered by the massive steel dies bearing Washington's face and the 2015 date. The metal warps, expands, and leaves behind a fascinating historical footprint of a factory mistake. In the world of rare coins, imperfection is perfection. The more catastrophic the mistake, the more desperate collectors are to own it. When these rare 2015 P error quarters finally hit the auction blocks, the results sent shockwaves through the community, with pristine, highly graded examples commanding astronomical prices, sometimes climbing into thousands of dollars for a single coin. But the mystery deepens when we look at the numbers. While hundreds of millions of standard quarters were minted, the number of these specific, major error coins escaping into the wild is infinitesimally small. It's like finding a single, uniquely colored grain of sand on an entire beach. This extreme rarity creates a psychological frenzy. It turns everyday citizens into treasure hunters. People started buying up unsearched boxes of 2015 quarters from banks, spending late nights under bright desk lamps, checking the edges, weighing the metal, and desperately hoping to spot that one defining flaw. What makes this story so emotionally captivating is the element of the unknown. Who was the person who actually found the first one? Did they find it in a handful of change from a local grocery store? Did they almost spend it on a pack of gum, completely unaware that they were holding a small fortune between their thumb and forefinger? We may never know the identities of everyone who handles these coins, which only adds to their romantic allure. It forces us to ask ourselves a fascinating question. How many life-changing treasures have we personally slid across a store counter, completely blind to their true value? The cultural significance of a coin, like the 2015 P error quarter, goes far beyond its monetary worth. It represents a glitch in a system that is designed to be flawlessly uniform. Money is supposed to look identical. It is a symbol of stability and trust. When the mint accidentally creates something unique, it breaks the monotony of daily life. It reminds us that magic and mystery can still be found in the most mundane places imaginable. It bridges the gap between elite, wealthy investors, and the average person checking the coins in their couch cushions. As time marches on, finding one of these pristine 2015 errors in circulation becomes harder and harder. Every day, coins get scratched, worn down, lost in the dirt, or locked away forever in private vaults. The window of opportunity to find a crisp, uncirculated error coin out in the wild is slamming shut. But the hunt never truly stops. So, the next time you receive a handful of change, don't just carelessly shove it into your pocket. Take a brief moment to pause. Look closely for that 2015 date, and search for that small P mint mark. Look at the edges, feel the weight, and inspect the design. You might just be looking at a common 25-cent piece. Or just maybe you might be holding a rare, beautiful mistake that changed the coin collecting world forever. What is the most unusual coin you have ever found in your daily change? Have you ever looked closely enough to find out? Turn over your pockets, check your wallets, and let us know what hidden history you uncover.